Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about Absolute Batman issue 10 by Scott Snyder, Nick Dragotta and Frank Martin. Bruce faces the horrors of Ark M this issue as out in Gotham, Martha comes to Jim for help since Bruce has gone missing a few days prior and she feels like something is wrong. Something is wrong as back in Ark M, Dr. Arkham begins her new doctor's log detailing Bruce and the removal of his costume along with various quote-unquote contraband he had hidden on and in his body. What a great way to open an issue, literally stripping back Batman down literally to the man under the cowl, leaving him naked and in an unfamiliar enemy territory. My favorite Batman stories are the ones where he's really put through the ringer and has to rely on more than just his fancy gadgets or bat suit to survive. We saw it recently with Chip Zdarsky's Batman, and here Snyder does exactly that as well. It sets up that type of story. The doctors think that Bruce has been sedated for 48 hours and he will continue to sleep, but she is wrong as once she leaves, Bruce awakens, pulling a lockpick from inside his mouth, piece of contraband the doctors missed, and he opens the door to his cell. Bruce escapes out into the massive Ark M facility, something his captors want as they track him through the various biomes. This entire sequence is just a smorgasbord of, Batman villains, related characters, and kind of building the lore around what Ark M is. Like we get mentions of stuff like Hellfern, as in Carl Hellfern, the villain known as Dr. Death, a villain Batman has tangled with copious amounts of times. We see a massive egg covered in tubes, which might come back a little bit later on in the book. And we also get to see the clay biome, which I guess is this universe's Clayface, or whatever would become Clayface. The way it's all designed also gives me really strong Akira or any sci-fi anime from the 1980s. It's just these massive facilities and buildings filled with this weird technology that's got all these tubes and pipes and cables running all over it. It's a great look for this type of Arkham, which is meant to be Arkham Asylum. It differentiates itself from the classic mental asylum we get in the main universe. It's also been a constant design choice across this Batman and like what his Gotham looks like and what even he looks like, and I'm all for it. Once Bruce arrives in the clay biome, he finds it's actually made of people who rise up out of the clay and grab him as Bane arrives, knocking Bruce out as he tells the captive he should keep trying to escape. Dr. Arkham's logs are interesting here as they refer to Bane as the Prime, so I'm guessing he was the first patient of Arkham, or he's like the leader of this place at the moment. It's really interesting they call him the Prime because that makes it seem like he's the one kind of running this or like in some sort of leadership position. It's a cool role for Bane as well. He's like this kind of prison warden who gets to keep Bruce contained, and I guess he keeps the other things contained as well because they all seem to be very scared of him. As Bruce is knocked out, he begins to think of his time with Waylon, helping him train against Bibbo Babowski in his upcoming fight. Bruce and his friends help Waylon learn more about Bibbo, setting up a training regiment for him so he'll be able to beat the experienced boxer. A month after Bruce disappeared though, Martha goes to see Harvey, who assures her that the DA is doing everything in their power to try and find Bruce, but they haven't turned up anything. Dr. Arkham begins a new medical log, this time revealing that it's been 45 days since Bruce was imprisoned, and by day 20, Bruce began to calm down, but he also stopped eating, so the doctors forcefully inserted a feeding tube into his stomach. Pretty soon, the doctors believe that Bruce is now fully docile, so they begin venturing into his cell to check up and clean him up. I really like how clinical the doctor is. Like, from what we've seen, Bruce is the most human thing they have there, and she knows he's just a guy, because that is what he is. He's not some like abomination. But the doctor continues to divorce him from his humanity, only referring to him as Subject 27, which is a neat little callback to Detective Comics 27, which was Batman's first appearance. She also kind of treats him like an actual bat as well, or referring to whatever Bruce uses the bathroom or, takes a shit, calls it guano. Even, his room is like a cage. It's like this big domed sort of like cage that he's in. Despite everything saying otherwise, Bruce is not docile, and when the doctors come to see him, he fights back, using teeth he extracted from his own mouth and put in his hand wrappings to slice and beat the doctors to a pulp. On top of his teeth fists, Bruce also adjusted his feeding tube, so instead of delivering food to him, it can now spray out his own raw stomach acid, spraying a doctor in the face with it and causing his face to burn Infernal. Now, holy shit, this is some hardcore stuff, even for Batman. Again, this is the thing I've really enjoyed about this Batman, where he kind of takes it all up to the edge. He's divorced from all of his gadget and technology, and he's just a guy with a Home Depot membership, and that's all he has to rely on. And stuff like this, where he's using his own body as a weapon, is just so fucking cool. And it's just, he does it with such cool as hell things. He's not just like using his, legs and fists and arms and stuff, but he's using his fucking stomach acid as a weapon. Only a writer like Scott Snyder, who's written so much Batman, so much horror, and so much all really great action stuff, would ever think about doing something like that. That is such an insane, hardcore move on Batman's part. Bruce escapes again, using his own guano and urine to create a fucking bomb, which he ends up blowing up the side of the cell with. As he escapes, he uses more bombs that he made to mask his movements, as he finds the giant egg he saw earlier is now cracked open. Soon he leaps across a giant black void, grabs a faraway ladder, and begins to climb up, hopefully to freedom. Bruce soon climbs into a new biome, a giant forest, which he heads into, and it soon comes alive, grabbing him as the doctors reveal that this is Isley ecosystem. Bruce is captured by the trees, which form into a being who says that the green wants out, vomiting up a parasite type thing which begins to try and crawl into Bruce's mouth and infect him. So this is quite a bit to process right here. Just the visuals of this place are just horrifying. Nick Dragotta does a great job with these like horror vibes, just like faces in the trees and this like weird zombified person made out of like roots and dirt and everything. It's just so cool. And then we also get to see like some lore about the Absolute Universe. So it mentions the green, which is like one of the primeval forces of nature. So like, is that because this is the Absolute Universe, has it been corrupted? Like, is the green in this universe evil? That's at least what I got from this, although it could also be read as like the green wants out, so like it wants to be let loose. It's angry that it's been captured and it wants vengeance on those who capture them, and it thinks that Bruce is part of that because he's just a normal guy. I also like that it's also hinting that this is obviously Pamela Isley's ecosystem, or this ecosystem is Pamela Isley and what became of Poison Ivy in this universe, and it's just utterly terrifying. This weird zombie-like monster might Pamela, and that's very, very scary. Scott is really tapping into his horror roots, pun very much intended, to deliver something really different and unique with what he's done with these characters before. These are truly monsters. Soon Bane shows up and again takes Bruce, telling him not to give up as he beats him unconscious again. Bruce again thinks back to his time with Selina, who's getting ready to go out on another heist, telling Bruce to get ready as well, but Bruce won't go this time since he's got to help Waylon by watching clips of Bibbo in the hopes they can find an opening in the box's form for Waylon to exploit. Selina, however, knows that Waylon doesn't stand a chance against an experienced boxer like Bibbo, and Bruce needs to tell Waylon that, but Bruce doesn't want to disappoint his friends since he will crush Bibbo. Selina knows that cheering him on and not telling his friend the truth will crush him more, so he needs to come clean with Waylon. I have a feeling this is something that Bruce probably should have listened to back then, since he did the exact same thing to his friends when he became Batman. He refused to tell his friends. They found out by accident and it hurt them all. They found out the truth of what he was doing and it hurt them all. They still willingly helped him, but it still very much damaged their relationship. It seems to be something of like a running thing with this Bruce, where he can't really tell them the truth or like face the truth, if that makes sense. As Bruce dreams of easier times, Martha begins canvassing the town for Bruce, putting up missing posters all over Gotham. Bruce meanwhile undergoes a very big change here, as he is put through 2 weeks worth of surgery, surviving the quote-unquote full cycle, which according to Dr. Arkham, the 26 subjects before him have not. Now this is the biggest change I never saw coming, as Bruce has indeed had some sort of big surgery happen to him. It's mentioned that he had some type of graft for his spinal cord and brainstem, and he has scars all over his back and neck and head in the shape of a bat. I don't think he's going to be turned into a bat per se, but I'd like to think that maybe he's got like some type of bat powers now, or has been spliced with a bat or something. Like he has echolocation or just something to do that will like they're like running tests on him and it had some undesired side effect where now he's like stronger or something. Very intrigued to see what Scott has in store for that, because it's not revealed. It's just like kind of hinted at that something happened to him, and I imagine we're going to find out in a couple of issues. It's just so cool that he's being allowed to change Batman up so drastically. Like this is like a completely different Batman than what we've ever seen before, and it's just so cool. Bane wishes to test Bruce, so he has his costume delivered to the cell, but Bruce ends up talking directly to the suit, telling it to leave him alone since it's over and he can't win against these people. I love the unspoken conversation here. It's very much like, the Norman Osborn Green Goblin sort of dynamic here, where he's talking to the suit and you can see the suit just kind of looming over him, hung up by a chain, chains, and it's telling him they still have work to do and it's not over yet. And it's kind of the reverse of the Green Goblin, where Green Goblin's telling Norman Osborn to like go out and kill people, kill men, women, and children. The suit here is telling him, no, we've got to kill or like defeat these people who are doing this evil shit to Gotham and to the people of Earth. Bruce dons the suit and smashes his way through the building again, and is soon met by gross abominations from Ark M, all who want his help. Batman tells them he doesn't know how to help them, so instead they wish for their pain to stop, implying that he should kill them all. Now there's a sliver of Bruce's time with Wayland cut in here, where I get it's implied that Bruce doesn't tell Wayland that he could win against Bibbo, and now in the present he gets to have that moment again, and he gets to be truthful with these people in front of him because he's already learned that lesson. He's learned to become truthful to the people around him, and I like that he gets to do that here. And I also like that it's also a Batman who isn't afraid to admit that he doesn't have all of the answers or the solutions to these problems. And we see that all the time where he get into a situation like this and he'd give them silent treatment, or he'd build false sense of hope, or in many stories Batman he would just have the answer because he's Batman, and that would be like the reason for it, because he's Batman. But I like that this guy is fallible, and I love that Snyder has been honing in on that idea, that that's what actually makes him a great Batman, that he is just a guy. It's kind of pulling Batman back to his roots as just a guy. Without warning, Bane attacks, viciously beats Batman down, stomping his way through the gross monsters in order to get to the hero, punches Batman right into one of the experiment windows, which quickly puts a pin in Bane's monologuing as he is attacked by a giant, very fast lizard monster, which smashes Bane into a group of doctors, who are all crushed by Bane when he falls on them. The rest of the doctors are eaten by the creature, who is revealed to be the absolute Killer Croc, Waylon Jones. Now this is easily my favorite Killer Croc design of all. It's just so different than just a scaly big muscle man. This here is literally a Godzilla lizard monster whose whole upper torso is effectively a mouth. There is also something so eerie about the tip of Croc's head just being a human skull, a human face as well. It's just set on this long neck and it just looks creepy as hell. Bruce recognizes that this is Waylon, telling the creature who he is, and it works as Bruce saddles up Killer Croc as they both plan on getting out of there alive. There is a resolution as well to the flashback we saw earlier, obviously with Waylon, and Bruce did indeed tell Waylon that he can win the boxing match, since after all, he's Waylon Croc Jones. There's nothing he can do. I do like that just because Waylon is now Killer Croc, he isn't automatically a villain. He isn't automatically filling that gap as, Batman villain. In fact, it looks like he's going to be teaming with Batman, and that's a great new direction for him. He becomes like a partner to Bruce, and they both go on fighting Bane, and maybe at some point he does end up becoming more of a villain to Batman. Maybe Batman can't like wrangle him, because after all he does appear to just be like a lizard creature, so maybe he doesn't have like the complete sentience of a human being there anymore. So maybe that's where like the hero versus villain sort of thing comes in, where like Bruce has to kind of corral him a little bit and sort of focus him onto other people. But I'm intrigued to see what Scott Snyder has planned for this Killer Croc, because that's a damn cool design. I'm intrigued to see what they do with the character, because it was a sad origin. He was just like taken and made this against his will. So I'm looking forward to seeing if we get to explore more of that, and he might get some revenge on some doc. Bane soon manages to get up and finishes his monologue, which Batman completely ignores, telling him to shove it up his ass as he and Croc escape higher into the facility. As they escape, Dr. Arkham comes to join Bane, ending her doctor's log as she asks Bane if he's excited for the final phase, and the giant ball of muscle very much is, since now he gets to break the Batman. Absolute Batman issue 10 absolutely blew me away with just how much new and exciting lore it has added to Batman. I adored getting more of the Batman who has to use his own body as the weapon instead of fancy gadgets. We've seen this before in this book. I'm glad it's coming back in a really big way, and Scott Snyder was sure to include some really gnarly ways he used his body as a weapon outside of fists and kicks, like stomach acid. That's an insane weapon to use in your own body. I'm so glad that they included something like that. It's so cool. I'm constantly surprised at how much he can keep reinventing Batman and taking the existing lore, twist and turn it into something completely new and refreshing. I love the idea of Killer Croc as well being a big giant Godzilla monster ally to Batman, and can't wait to see him take on Bane in the next few issues. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10.